Hey, I'm Paul McConnell from the Doctor Lawyer team. We're going to talk a little bit about, continue the conversation on what makes our firm different from other law firms. And we're here with Dr. Mike, our in-house medical doctor, not just a medical doctor, but a neurosurgeon. Mike, what makes a medical malpractice case? How do we prove a case?
So a medical malpractice claim is like any other injury claim where there's a tort. A tort means that someone, due to their negligence, has caused harm to another person, more or less. So in a medical case specifically, doctor has a duty to care to you, which is the first part of the tort. Obviously, a hospital, a doctor, any healthcare provider that's providing you care has a duty to you to maintain the standard of care expected of a person who practices that art, that specialty, say a neurosurgeon. So if they do something that's below that standard, and the standard is decided by another practitioner in that field, which is called an expert, if what they did wrong caused you damages, which are the harms that we claim, and try to make that into money because there's no other way to make you whole other than money. It's the only thing our system has. If those things are all proven, something below the standard of care that causes you harm, that's a medical malpractice claim.
And how does being a doctor and your medical background help us deliver results for our clients?
Well, in all injury cases, right, there's injuries. And being a doctor, I can look at the injuries that have occurred, sometimes ones that are even overlooked by other doctors. And each of the injuries are possibly compensable damages to the client. And if it goes in front of a mediator or an insurance adjuster or even a judge and a jury, I'm well suited to explain to them how the accident caused these damages.
Now, earlier you referenced specialty care providers, for example, like a cardiologist. What do you mean by that? Can you give our potential clients and listeners an idea what you mean by that?
Sure. Most people have different types of doctors, different specialists in different fields. So if you have a medical malpractice claim against, say, a cardiologist, the expert who has to decide whether or not something was done below the standard of care of another cardiologist has to be a cardiologist, a board-certified cardiologist.
So it can't just be any doctor?
Can't just be anybody, correct.
And your experience, you know what types of experts to look for?
Correct. Some of them are friends of mine, and some of them are professional colleagues that I know both through medicine and also from the practice of law in this area.
And I know medicine, like the law, there's so much specialization these days. Like in the law, there's divorce attorneys and personal injury attorneys, there's corporate attorneys, trust and estates. It's the same thing in medicine, essentially, right?
That's correct.
And there's even subspecialties, if you will, like pediatricians. There might be even subspecialties for neonatal care and the like. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. And then I think you referenced you have a number of contacts in all types of different practice areas from your years of practice.
That is correct. And that's essential for a medical malpractice firm because finding experts is often the most difficult part of cases. Getting the expert to answer the phone, explaining to the expert more or less what you need from him. You're not putting words into his mouth, but you're explaining to him how he needs to explain it if he thinks there's something that was done wrong that caused a person damages. And in fact, sometimes you need another expert, one that talks about what was done by a doctor that caused damages, but you often need another person who can explain the damages that are in his field. So for instance, a cardiologist doesn't diagnose the person having a heart attack and the person has lack of oxygen to their brain because their heart was stopped for a while. Sometimes you need a neurologist to come in and explain, here's the damages to the brain that occurred because of the lack of oxygen. So in other words, the neurologist didn't do anything wrong, but he can explain this is what happened because of the negligence of the cardiologist.
Let's talk about other types of cases. So, we handle a lot of car accidents and motorcycle accidents, slip and falls and the like. How does your medical background help with those types of cases?
Again, because I know what the damages are, I can explain them better to the decision makers, who are the people who are going to pay the harmed client. I can show them, say, an MRI, some part of the body and say, see here, this is what this act did, this is what this car accident did to this person, or this is what falling down from that scaffold did to this guy. So if it's already been shown that the person did not meet the standard of care of a person driving a car or a regular construction company that puts
Sure.
up scaffolds, then I can show why that caused all of these harms, and I can explain the harms fairly easily to lay people or to judges, adjusters, whatever the decision maker is.
So decision makers might be, if we're on behalf of our clients, dealing with the representatives of an insurance company.
Correct. Sometimes it might just be an insurance adjuster, sometimes it could be even some in-house medical person that they have. A lot of these companies, excuse me, often have nurses, things like that. And then from there, you have mediators, judges, and of course, juries, all the way at the end if you go all the way to court.
Okay. And I think the other thing we found is just by having you in-house, it really speeds the process for our clients in terms of evaluation, whether it's medical malpractice and or personal injury, just evaluating the damage, whether or not there's damages, and we can even bring a case in the first place. Fair to say?
Yes, sometimes, probably most of the time, I can tell over the phone with just a small amount of information. The first thing I usually ask people is, in your words, what do you think was done wrong? And that'll point me in the direction in any medical records that they have where to look. And I can usually give them an answer pretty quickly whether or not we need to continue investigating. And it just gets deeper and deeper if there looks like there's actual potential recovery for them.
Great. So anyway, hope you found this video helpful, diving into some of the things that we see on a day-to-day basis. We're happy to talk to you about anything that you have that's particular to your life.